I've asked everybody else, so I feel like I have to ask you, what were your emotions like at the end of that game, watching the team celebrate, watching the players celebrate with each other, and just having that moment on that field?
Well, during the game, I at least tried to the best of my ability and pride myself on trying to stay pretty even keel. And when that happens, especially in an emotional environment like it was and such an emotional day, it all seems to kind of come out at the end. So, my first reaction was just, a little bit of take it all in, kind of looking around and watching our players celebrate. And then pretty quick after walking on the field, I look for my little ones, because they're all down on the field. And, I have a son and three girls that at this point in their life, they live and die with us every weekend. And I have a baby boy at home too, but he has no idea what's going on. But so that was really the first thing I did was after kind of taking it all in for a moment, look for them because I knew that there'd be at least three at the game that would be super elated and running out on the field, and that was a pretty cool moment.
Go to the right for Ara. On the other side of the spectrum, Jarvis running to the kicker. Is he? Sorry.
No, that's a good question.
Is he even supposed to be anywhere near that? What happens on that?
It was an effort play. Obviously, the angle wasn't great that he took. We went with a middle block because it was a longer field goal. So the opportunity to come off the edge and middle block isn't going to be very good anyway because there's no one occupying the wing. And it's one of those things where, you have a kid in a big game trying to make a play. He gives great effort every week. A couple weeks ago, he was a big factor in a game with his effort coming off the edge. A lot to learn from on the play for everybody, but obviously not what we wanted in that situation.
JP, the kick by Fitzgerald to cut it to 5 there late in the fourth quarter. Obviously, that was kind of a close decision whether you go for it, whether you kick the field goal at that point. I'm curious in those situations, does Coach Norvell go to you? Like, is Ryan in a good mindset to kick this? What are your feelings on this? And I guess if that conversation had, what was the discussion like?
In that particular case, that conversation didn't need to be had because Ryan was in a good spot. There's been times where Coach will ask how he's feeling and we'll have that conversation, but it wasn't necessary in that situation. And those decisions, I kind of have the kind of a unique experience of being able to flip back and forth on the headset. So I'm on the offensive headset and on the defensive headset, and that decision was made by Coach, two downs prior to it happening. That if the situation presents itself, we were going to take the points and then count on getting the stop, getting the ball back, and then go put ourselves in a situation to go win the game. So when he called for the field goal unit, that was not surprising. That had already been kind of discussed and laid out. And I thought it was a great call. Obviously, it turned out to be a really great call. But it's the belief that you have in your players. And I think as a coach, anytime that you can have a tangible decision that is based on everything that you preach in terms of the belief in the guys, it just creates even more buy-in from the players because he did put it on the defense and say, you know what, we're going to take 3 points. Defense, you got to get a stop. That's our only chance. And, obviously they went out and did their job.
You guys had a couple of situations, I think both in the first half maybe, where you're right in that gray area of like 37, 38-yard line. You went for a kick. I think it was a 52-yarder. Number one, did he just not get that well? He's got the leg enough to get that.
Yeah, he just didn't hit that very well. He got under the ball a little bit, and it just kind of popped up on him a little bit. He didn't drive it like he wanted to.
But when you guys are thinking about the next time you're down there, and it's a similar, I think it's 4th and 10, 4th and 8, and you decide to punt. I don't know that Norvell ever wants to punt on another team's 38-yard line, but it worked out great. Are you in the part of that decision-making too? Like, look, Alex can pin them inside the 5, or do we try to run out for another kick? Should we go for it? Or you?
Yeah, some of that decision-making is predetermined. We were a little bit outside of Ryan's range there. That was kind of was known. 30, we weren't going to push a 56-yard field goal in that situation, especially coming off the previous kick. And, probably the thing, as often as we do go for it in those type of situations. Probably the thing that gets lost a little bit is how good Alex is in terms of his ball control on his sky kicks. He is a real weapon. I think, and I'm 99% sure in saying this, I don't think he's had a touchback, and I want to knock on wood as I say this, I don't think he's had a touchback since the Georgia Tech game to open last season. So, that kind of ball control and having the opportunity to control field position is critical.
Next we Aslan in the back right corner.
What is left to say about Jermaine Johnson? Was that like a Mount Rushmore performance for you in terms of watching somebody that you coached?
It's been really great to watch his development and his growth since he's gotten here. He came in with a mindset that he was going to make the absolute most of the opportunity that he had here. I wasn't sure in the beginning, what that meant from the team perspective, but very early on, and I think I've shared this before, very early on in the winter conditioning workouts, he started to show signs of leadership and wanting to lead. And, that's not easy for a guy coming in as a senior with all new guys trying to take that role. And he's consistently done it throughout the course of the year. And I think this game in particular was really important to him because I think he wanted to leave some kind of mark on having a legacy at Florida State. Other than just being a good player who racked up some pretty significant statistics, I think he wanted to have something that people here, whether he's only here for a year or not, would remember him by. And to have his last game at home be a performance like that, because the play that I'm going to remember more than any of the other things is on the 3rd and 4 when he's playing on the left side of the defensive line and he's making the tackle on a flat route for us to get the ball back. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember how emotional he was on the sideline when Jordan Travis scored because he played about as well as he could have played. And when we were able to punch it in at the end, that was real, emotion in every way. And at that minute, draft status or awards or recognition had nothing to do with anything. It was really just about us finding a way to win as a team. And I just have a high level of respect for who he is and what he's about and how he's approached this year.
All right, next we Brendan over here to your left.
Following up on that, you mentioned Jermaine's work and leadership in the winter conditioning program. Can you talk about what that looks like when you first realized that he was someone who was totally committed to not just himself but this program?
Well, our winter conditioning program, which we call the tour of duty, is it's a grind. It's a mental and it's a physical grind, that is created to put guys in adverse situations, and he just the way he approached the work. Anytime you go into a new environment, there's a little bit of a sense of uncertainty in everything that you're doing. And just from the first day, he was the guy who led and was out in front on the runs and the sprints. And, I always think it says a lot about who you are based off of where you get in line to do a drill. Are you a guy that hangs in the back and watches everybody else kind of and figures it out? Or do you jump to the front and are you willing to go first, even though you might not even really know what you're doing? And he's always been a guy that jumped in the front of the line. And, that's a small thing, but that's not something that I take lightly because, when you're the new guy, to just step in the front, that says a lot about who you are and what your belief in yourself is. And he's had that approach since the very beginning. And, heck, there could have been times that rubbed people wrong, and he never, ever, ever wavered from what he wanted his role to be. And I was just so happy for him because he was able to kind of see a culmination of a lot of work and have team success in that game the other day.
All right, we'll go back to Ira.
Coach Fuller was talking about some of the times in practice when he and Fabian and some of the guys, they want more work, they want more challenges, they want to run plays back when they don't go well. What is that group's leadership, that whole defensive front, what do you think that's doing for the young guys, the Patrick Paytons and the Josh Farmers to see what those guys do every day?
Well, I mean, you're hopefully what is being created is a standard of operation that is being translated to the younger group. That when it is, Patrick Payton or Derek McClendon or Josh Farmer, or whoever you want to reference, when it is their turn to be the guys who sit in the front of the room, that they have, a positive leadership model to follow. And I think that's how you build things within a program is when your best players and your most talented guys, which we're pretty talented up front, are also workers. And that's how you create that standard of how we approach practice, how you approach the meetings, how you approach the game day. And when we bring in the next recruiting class, that just got to continue to develop, and that's how you grow a program.
All right, next will be Aslan from that corner.
I don't know how much film you've been able to watch at BC, but they just seem to run under center a lot more than you see this sort of day and age, two tight ends, sort of ace formation. Is this going to be kind of maybe like an uglier, dirtier work kind of game for the defensive ends?
Well, it's going to start for us as a defensive front that we have to stop the run. Which is something we talked about as a defensive line unit yesterday, and that they're super excited about. We feel like we're pretty good in that area, and it's going to be a great challenge because they run the ball well. So it's going to be something's going to give, and we got to be physical. We know it's going to be a little bit colder, a little bit more of a fall football environment than maybe we're used to down here, and we're going to have to go up, strap it up, and get after it. And it's going to be a violent, physical football game, but I don't think from a defensive front perspective we'd want it any other way.
Corey?
How nice was it to get a a good break on not catching a punt? I mean, that ball is about a half yard from being down at the 1 yard line. Did you talk to him afterwards about, because I think he hit it to 16.
Yeah. The last punt
The
of
last
the game.
punt,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, obviously we caught a huge break in the game there. We decided, I decided that in that scenario, with it being 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, we wanted to go punt safe, which left our defense on the field, which really that doesn't present much of a return opportunity for us in the return game. And anytime it's in a punt safe scenario, if the returner feels like the ball has a chance to hit and roll, we're going to take that opportunity. If he feels like it's hung up so long and they've done a good job of getting down the field, that's when he tries to catch it, anything that's from the 7 and out. So it was a judgment call based on the kind of the rotation of the ball and the velocity of how it was coming down, and we were very fortunate. And when people say this is a game of inches, it really can be. And that was a big play to be able to start that series at the 20-yard line for sure.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on, it seems like, particularly in that game, but in other games as well, it seems like coverage units are allowed to just kind of buzz right, like be right on top of returners. I mean, should there be more space there? And what's because it seems like that factors into the decision if somebody's crossing somebody's face right as the ball's coming.
Sure. Well, we got the one kick catch interference early in the game where they did run into Pokey. I thought the second one later with Trav was really close. It's like anything. I think the referees always do the best job that they could possibly do, and just like pass interference or holding or anything else like that, there is a judgment call to it. When rules are points of emphasis, they tend to show up more. And, it hasn't been called very much, the kick-catch interference, but when there was contact made, they made the call. So, I'm good with that. We can always protect ourselves with a fair catch. And, that is something that obviously we continue to stress with our guys.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.